And to talk about Mohamed Salah, is one of the best players in the world. In the sixth finalist in the list of the Global Soccer Awards. He scored a lot of goals for Liverpool. He made the difference. I love to watch him play, so he's a great player.
Mohamed Salah, we've got to talk about him now. I mean, he continues to be consistently brilliant.
He's unbelievable. He really is. He's excellent. Look, 164 goals past Robbie Fowler, chasing Thierry Henry. I mean, there's been talk about contracts, whether they're going to renew or not. They've got to sign him. It's imperative they give him a 2-year deal at the end of the season. What is he, 32 now? He'll be 33 in the summer. It'll take him to 35. He's the most. The thing is with Mo Salah is he doesn't have to play well to score big goals and big moments, and that is the difference between a very good player and a top player.
In a tiny village in Egypt, far from the bright lights and roaring crowds of the Premier League, there's a young boy running barefoot on dusty streets, using whatever he can find as a football. Nobody's watching, nobody's cheering, except maybe his neighbour, who thinks it's just a kid playing. But here's the twist. That kid, he's about to rewrite history. He's going to make the world chant his name, turn heartbreak into triumph, and prove that even from the humblest beginnings, you can rise to be a king. Yeah, I'm talking about Mohamed Salah. Let me tell you how this boy from Nagrig became the king of the Premier League. Let's take a trip back to where it all started. Nagrig is a small, quiet village in Egypt where life is as humble as it gets. This was a kind of place where dreams rarely left the ground, especially dreams of football stardom. And honestly, it wasn't just about Nagrig. Egyptian football itself was in its darkest days. By the time Mohamed Salah was chasing footballs on dusty streets, Egypt wasn't exactly producing international stars. Sure, the country had legends like Abu Trika, but the game back home had been ripped apart by tragedy. It was February 1st, 2012, a day that changed everything. During a match between Al Masry and Al Ahly, a riot broke out that left 74 fans dead and over 500 injured. It was absolute chaos, fans scrambling to escape, only to find locked gates. It was heartbreaking, and the aftermath, the Egyptian league was cancelled. For 2 years, there were no full seasons, and even when football returned, fans weren't allowed back in the stands for years. The country's footballers scattered, many retired and others fled to foreign leagues. Egypt, once the undisputed king of African football with 7 AFCON titles and 3 back-to-back wins, had fallen into darkness. They couldn't even qualify for the African Cup of Nations. The national team, the pride of the country, was in shambles. In the middle of all of this, there was no obvious hero. Nobody was thinking, oh, don't worry, the next Abu Trika is coming. No, all eyes were on survival, not stardom. And yet, out in the chaos of this broken football system, there was a young man quietly working his way up. A teenager from a village no one had heard of, playing for a team that had finished bottom of the league the year before, Al Mokhaloun. That teenager, well, you guessed it, it's Mohamed Salah. Salah, just a kid, kicking a battered old ball around the streets with his friends. No fancy football boots, no proper fields, just raw passion. His world was small, but his dreams, huge. He could watch football matches on TV and imagine himself out there, playing in the biggest stadiums in the world. Salah's village didn't have much, but his family made sacrifices to support his obsession with football. At just 14, he joined a youth academy in Tanta. But here's the catch. Nagrig was hours away from the academy. Every single day, this kid would wake up early, take a bus to the academy, train for hours, and then take another long bus ride home. The journey? It took 4 hours each way. 4 hours. And the thing is, Salah didn't just show up. He gave it everything he had every single day. People around him started noticing that this kid wasn't just good, he was different. He was faster, sharper, more determined. But even then, the idea of him making it big seemed like a fantasy. Egypt didn't have a pipeline for sending players to Europe, let alone from a little village like Nagrig. But Salah, he wasn't hearing any of that negativity. He was locked in, laser-focused. He had this unshakable belief in himself, like he knew he was destined for something bigger. Whenever Salah would come back to Nagrig after training, he'd play with the local kids, showing them tricks he'd learned at the academy. For them, he wasn't just a talented player, he was their hero even back then. And maybe, just maybe, that gave him a little extra fuel to keep pushing. Now imagine being a kid during this time, growing up with no live football matches to watch, no heroes in the stadiums, and no league games to follow. Egypt's football flame was barely flickering, but Salah, he kept dreaming. He wasn't just playing for himself. In a way, he was carrying the weight of a nation that desperately needed hope. Every day, he'd make that insane 4-hour journey to train, not just to prove himself, but because deep down he believed he could be the one to change everything, and slowly, but surely, he started to shine. His speed, his skills, his determination, people couldn't ignore him anymore. It's wild to think about how one kid from a struggling village, playing in a league on the verge of collapse, became this hero his country didn't even realize it needed. Salah's journey wasn't just about talent, it was about timing, resilience, and stepping up when the lights were dimmest. And soon enough, he'd take those first steps out of Egypt and into a world that had no idea what was coming. But trust me, the story gets even better from here. Salah's story might seem easy till you put yourself in his shoes. Imagine this: you're 14 years old, living 4 hours away from your dream. Every day it's the same grind. Wake up, train, travel, repeat. School? It's barely a thing anymore. Sleep? Well, just enough to survive. That was Mohamed Salah's reality when he joined El Mokhaloun's academy. Salah wasn't some prodigy spotted under the floodlights of a fancy football pitch. No, he was playing street football when a scout accidentally found him while looking at another kid. Talk about fate stepping in, right? And even then, he was a left back. Yeah, the guy we now call the Egyptian king was defending, not attacking. But then one academy coach had a light bulb moment. What if we push him forward? And boom, the kid exploded. In no time, Salah was not just a talent, he was the talent. At 15, he debuted in the Egyptian league, becoming the youngest player ever. By 17, he was a star of the team, already getting national team call-ups. Zamalek, one of Egypt's biggest clubs, came knocking with an offer. But then, tragedy struck. You know the story. The Port Said disaster in 2012, which left over 70 people dead. Football in Egypt stopped, leaving players like Salah stranded. With his world crumbling, Salah had one lifeline left: the Olympics. And boy, did he grab it with both hands. During a pre-Olympic friendly, Egypt's under-23 team faced Basel. Salah started on the bench but came on in the second half and lit up the field. 2 goals later, Basel's president was hooked. "I've never seen a player so fast," he said. A month later, Salah signed with Basel, moving to Switzerland. Freezing winter, a language you don't understand, and an entirely new culture. Most teenagers would crumble, but not Salah. He became Basel's secret weapon, scoring crucial goals in the Europa League and even bagging one against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And yes, he was just getting started. From the streets of Nagrig to the global stage, this was the moment Salah's journey came full circle. And trust me, this was just the beginning. But football isn't a straight path. It's a winding road full of detours, challenges, and moments of reinvention. While Salah's time in Switzerland had turned him into a promising prospect, the next chapter of his career would test his resilience in ways he'd never imagined. When Chelsea came calling, it seemed like the ultimate dream: the Premier League, the bright lights of London. It was everything a young footballer could hope for. Yet for Salah, it wasn't the fairy tale he'd envisioned. The lights of Stamford Bridge glimmered in the night. Mohamed Salah, now donning the blue of Chelsea, had arrived on the grand stage. This was it, the Premier League, the world's most watched league. And for a kid from Nagrig, this was the dream. Or at least it should have been. But sometimes dreams don't unfold the way we imagine. And Chelsea? Salah was no longer the star. He was a cog in a machine. A talented one, sure, but not the one turning the wheels. Jose Mourinho, the ever-demanding tactician, didn't seem to trust him. Salah's minutes dwindled. He'd watch from the bench as others took the spotlight. When he did get his chances, they were fleeting. A spark here, a flash of brilliance there, but no time to ignite. And when Chelsea brought in yet another wave of high-profile players, the writing was on the wall. Salah wasn't part of the plan. But here's the thing about setbacks: they can either break you or make you. For Salah, it was the latter. Enter Fiorentina. In January 2015, Salah swapped the bustling streets of London for the vibrant purple of Florence. And something clicked. In Italy, Salah was unleashed. Fiorentina didn't just give him minutes, they gave him freedom. Suddenly, the boy who dazzled in Basel was back. He terrorized defenses with his electric pace and clinical finishing. In one standout moment, he raced nearly the entire length of the pitch to score against Juventus. It was the kind of goal that made you sit up and say, "Who is this guy?" And if you thought that was it, think again. After his loan spell, another Italian giant came knocking, Roma. This wasn't just another step, it was a leap. At Roma, Salah transformed into a superstar. With Francesco Totti guiding the team in his final years, Salah became the centerpiece of Roma's attack. His goals? Stunning. His assists? Relentless. He wasn't just fast anymore. He was smart too, timing his runs perfectly and creating space out of thin air. In the 2016-17 season, Salah's numbers were jaw-dropping. 15 goals and 13 assists in Serie A alone. He did that in 31 games. He wasn't just a winger anymore, he was a force of nature. Roma finished second in the league, their best performance in years, and Salah was the heartbeat of it all. And yet, his journey was far from over. Bigger clubs were watching. The kid from Nagrig, who once took 4-hour bus rides to train, was about to go full circle. In the summer of 2017, Liverpool came calling. The transfer was record-breaking for the club. But the skepticism was palpable. English fans still remember the Chelsea Salah, who struggled to make an impact. Why spend so much on him, they asked. But Liverpool? They saw something different. They saw Mohamed Salah, who tore apart defenses in Switzerland and Italy. They saw the hunger of a player who'd been told he wasn't good enough, but kept proving everyone wrong. And Salah? He was ready to show the Premier League the player he'd become. But before we talk about the next chapter, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. You know, football has this magical way of writing comeback stories, and for Mohamed Salah, this was where the fairy tale truly began. It's 2017, and Liverpool, under the charismatic Jurgen Klopp, were assembling something special, and then decided to buy Salah, the kid who was once doubted at Chelsea, now returning to England, but this time as a man on a mission. When Salah signed for Liverpool, there were skeptics. Oh, he's just a fast winger, they said. But Klopp, he saw more. He saw fire. He saw a relentless work ethic. He saw, well, the Egyptian king we all know today. And Salah, he wasted no time proving why Klopp was right. His debut season? A joke. 32 goals in the Premier League. 32! Nobody had ever done that in a 38-game season. And it wasn't just the numbers, it was how he did it. Dazzling runs, clinical finishes, and defenders left spinning like tops. But the ultimate test came in 2017, Egypt versus Congo. World Cup qualification was on the line and the pressure was crushing. Salah scored the first goal, but Congo equalized in the dying minutes. Egypt's hopes were hanging by a thread. Then came the penalty in stoppage time. Salah steps up. The weight of 28 years of missed World Cups rests on his shoulders, and with one swift kick, history was rewritten. Egypt was going to the World Cup. The crowd? Absolute chaos. Salah, a national hero. At that time, you could hear over 50,000 fans chanting the Egyptian king in unison. Salah wasn't just scoring goals, he was winning hearts. He became a symbol, not just for Liverpool, but for millions of fans across the world. But football, as much as it gives, can also be cruel. 2018, Champions League final. Salah is in tears. Forced off after a brutal challenge from Sergio Ramos. Liverpool fell short that night, and you could feel the weight of that heartbreak. But champions are forged in the fire of failure, and Salah, he came back stronger, hungrier, and with unfinished business. Fast forward a year, Madrid 2019. Champions League final again, but this time, no heartbreak, only triumph. Salah scores a penalty in the opening minutes and Liverpool lift the trophy. Redemption complete. You could see it in his eyes. That was more than a win. That was his vindication. And then came the big one, the Premier League. Liverpool hadn't won it in 30 years. 30 long years. Entire generations had grown up waiting for this moment, but Salah, alongside Klopp and the team, made it happen. Week after week he delivered goals, assists and performances that made Liverpool unstoppable. When the title was finally secured in 2020, it wasn't just history being made, destiny was fulfilled. Salah wasn't just a star anymore, he was a legend. The boy from Nagrig, who had been doubted, discarded and overlooked, had risen to the pinnacle of world football. And just when you thought he couldn't add more to his legacy, Salah is again leading Liverpool to glory this season. The man is in ridiculous form. In just 19 games, he's racked up over 18 goals and 13 assists. Think about that. That's more goal involvement than what Sancho managed in 3 seasons. Thanks to Salah's brilliance, Liverpool are sitting 6 points clear at the top of the table, with a game in hand no less. Every week he's either scoring the decisive goal, setting up a teammate, or just dragging his team across the finish line. It's like he's carrying the weight of Anfield's hopes on his shoulders and making it look easy. What's crazy is, through all of this, the goals, the trophies, the records, Salah has never lost sight of who he is. He's still that humble, hard-working guy who always gives back to his roots, his family and his country. And that's why he's not just loved, he's adored. Salah isn't just a footballer. He's a leader, a role model, and one of the greatest players the Premier League has ever seen. And when all is said and done, his name will forever be etched in football history. So yeah, they call him the Egyptian King. But honestly, he's the boy from the small village in Niagara who took the Premier League by storm.